The National Basketball Association has its own rules and regulations, and even though the NBA isn't one to aimlessly ban players, there have been behaviors over the years that have required a few bans. So, today we'll be counting down 10 players that have been banned for life from the NBA, for various reasons you'll soon find out about. Starting off with number 10, we have Jack Molinas. After high school, Molinas attended Columbia University, where he played on the basketball team and had a memorable time doing so. In his lone season in the NBA, Molinas averaged 11.6 points and 7.1 rebounds per game for the Fort Wayne Pistons, after being drafted 3rd overall in 1953. He was also chosen to represent the All-Star team in his debut year. Off the court, though, Molinas found work in a high-risk industry. Molinas bet on college basketball games with a mob-backed bookmaker, including bets on his own team. While betting on these games, Molinas would throw games to ensure his wagers won. He'd also win games, but make a terrible pass or shot near the end to keep the game under the point spread. Aside from that, it was revealed that Molinas was a key figure in the 1961 game-fixing allegations, which resulted in the arrest of 37 players from 22 colleges. His game-fixing practices also harmed the careers of renowned players like Connie Hawkins and Roger Brown, the latter of whom eventually made it to the NBA. It wasn't long before Molinas was imprisoned for 10 to 15 years for game-fixing and bribing players. Molinas continued to engage in illicit activities even after his release. Next up at number 9, John Drew. Aside from game-fixing, substance abuse is another behavior that could lead to a ban from the NBA. John Drew was one of the athletes who suffered the brunt of the punishment. For a decade, John Drew called the NBA home, and he was renowned as a talented shooter while playing for both Utah and Atlanta. Between 1974 and 1985, John Drew played 11 NBA seasons and was a 2-time All-Star before receiving a permanent ban from the league for substance abuse. Despite his talent, he was forced to retire from the league at the age of 31. Drew was reputedly addicted to cocaine, an addiction he developed during the 1977 to 1978 season, and it was a habit that the 2-time All-Star couldn't shake. It wasn't until January 1986 that the NBA took action. Drew was banned by the league after being sent to the hospital in Salt Lake City for the 3rd time for drug addiction. Drew also had the worst drop-off in his career during his final season in the NBA. Following up at number 8, Richard Dumas. Richard Dumas was a 2nd-round pick, but he showed much promise during his first season, averaging 15.8 points and 4.6 rebounds per game. He had the tools for a long NBA career, but Dumas couldn't shake his drug addiction despite several chances from the league. To be fair, Dumas had a medical issue. He claims to have been diagnosed with manic bipolar disorder and social anxiety disorder. This made him nervous about the crowded venue and the bright lights of the game. Dumas claimed that he had to drink 6 packs of beer before the game to calm down. Unfortunately, in addition to drinking beer, he was also addicted to drugs. He says that he had been using drugs since he was 13 years old. He was permanently banned in 1993 after earning many suspensions for drinking and substance usage, and when he was reinstated 2 years later, he was banned again almost immediately after being found drinking. Moving on to number 7, Roger Brown. Brown averaged 17.4 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 3.8 assists per game over his 8-year career. Brown was also a 4-time ABA All-Star, and the Pacers retired his jersey. However, Brown would be barred from competing in the NBA due to his affiliation with Jack Molinas. Brown admitted to collecting favors from the Pistons selection pick, while not being accused of participating in any of Molinas' point-shaving schemes. As a result, then NBA Commissioner Walter Kennedy would promptly impose a ban on Roger Brown and Connie Hawkins. Fortunately for Brown, he was able to return to basketball. Despite not playing in the NBA, he was the first player ever signed by the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers were still in the American Basketball Association at the time. Given that the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame does not only feature NBA players, Brown's contributions to the Pacers also earned him a spot in the Hall of Basketball Legends. Now for number 6, Chris Washburn. Another player that met his fate as a result of substance abuse was Chris Washburn. Washburn was picked 3rd overall by the Golden State Warriors in the 1986 NBA draft. He was one of those highly hyped players that did not pan out in the NBA. Washburn had a successful undergraduate career at NC State. In 2 years, he averaged 16.4 points and 6.6 rebounds per game. However, his NBA statistics indicated differently. Washburn's NBA career was uneventful, with him averaging only 3.1 points and 2.4 rebounds per game. After 2 seasons, the NBA prevented him from ever returning to the league due to substance abuse. Unfortunately, his drug addiction affected not only his NBA career, career, but also his personal life. Washburn found himself visiting the drug rehabilitation center 14 times, and he even struggled financially because of it. Let's look at Roy Tarpley at number 5. The Mavericks had the 6th overall pick in 1986 and used it on Roy Tarpley, a power forward who played 6 seasons with the team and was twice permanently banned by the NBA. He unfortunately couldn't extend his career with the NBA when he fell into cocaine and alcohol addiction. After being expelled from the NBA, Tarpley took his talents to Europe. The former Mavericks center created a name for himself in Europe and made a case for a return to the NBA. Tarpley would be a leading scorer for his side and help them win the Greek League Championship. He averaged 20.9 points and 12.9 rebounds per game in the EuroLeague. Although the league reinstated him, allowing him to make a temporary return to the Mavericks, Tarpley continued to abuse alcohol, prompting the league to permanently ban him in 1995. Tarpley averaged 12.6 points and 8.2 rebounds per game in 6 seasons with the Mavericks. Moreover, at number 4, O.J. Mayo. O.J. Mayo was one of the players banned in a more recent ban. He's been playing in China since 2016, and he was a decent shooting guard in his time at the NBA. The Minnesota Timberwolves selected him 3rd overall in the 2008 NBA draft, and he had a terrific first few years in the league. He scored 15.2 points per game while shooting 37.5% from downtown in 4 seasons with the Grizzlies. Mayo showed some promise with the Mavericks in his 5th season in the NBA. As the team's starting guard, he averaged 15.3 points per game and shot 40.7% from deep. Mayo went on to join the Bucks for his final 3 seasons in the league, averaging 10.6 points per game off the bench. Mayo was discovered breaking the NBA's anti-drug policy during the 2016 offseason and received a ban that ended last season. And if he wasn't currently under contract overseas, he would probably be in the NBA right now. Next at number 3, Tyreke Evans. Tyreke Evans, a former 4th-round pick, has not lived up to some expectations, but he's still done well on the court, winning the NBA Rookie of the Year award in 2009 and 10, ahead of Golden State Warriors legend Steph Curry. After stops with the Sacramento Kings, New Orleans Pelicans, Memphis Grizzlies, and Indiana Pacers, he averaged 15.7 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 2.4 assists per game. Unfortunately, Evans was discovered to be in violation of the league's anti-drug program. This also came at a time when Evans was approaching free agency. Evans completed his sentence in May of 2021. With NBA contenders often looking to add depth to their squad, having a reliable scoring option like Evans may undoubtedly help. And with Evans returning to the NBA court, he'll be able to follow in the footsteps of former banned players like Chris Anderson. Now for number 2, we have Gene Melchior. Melchior, the greatest little man in basketball and a previous 2-time All-American at Bradley, was the 1st overall pick in the 1951 NBA draft. He does, however, have an odd distinction. He's the only number 1 choice in NBA history who has never played in the league. There have been numerous top draft picks who have flamed out, sometimes spectacularly, but none like the squeaky Melchior. Melchior was barred from the NBA for life for his role in the 1951 point-shaving scandal. The trouble started in 1949, while Melchior's team was competing in the National Invitation Tournament in New York. According to Melchior's testimony in 1953, a gambler from Brooklyn named Nick Angelises purposely bumped into a player inside the team's hotel. Soon after, Melchior and 2 friends found themselves in a meeting with 3 gamblers, who told us the colleges were getting rich on basketball and we ought to be getting something for it. Melchior's life was drastically altered as a result of the conversation. He had the potential to be an NBA icon. That, however, never happened. Finally, at number 1, we have Donald Sterling. There's only one non-player on this list of all those banned by the NBA. Donald Sterling, the former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, is that person. A tape capturing Sterling's chat with his mistress, V. Stiviano, which contained racial slurs, was made public in 2014. Sterling has a history of racist behavior toward people of color, including as athletes. Following the release of the recording, Clippers players vowed to boycott games, which head coach Doc Rivers supported. Additionally, Sterling's racist remarks were quickly criticized by the public. Because of the public outcry and the NBA's strong anti-racism stance, newly appointed Commissioner Adam Silver banned Sterling for life. Sterling was also fined $2.5 million in addition to the ban. Sterling's wife, Shelley, later gained control of the Clippers. Shelley would then sell it for $2 billion to Steve Ballmer. When it comes to sports franchises, Sterling is undoubtedly the worst owner. The Clippers never advanced under his leadership. The Clippers have only had 2 winning seasons in the last 32 years. Moreover, ESPN named the Clippers the worst sports team in the country. Whether or not he was a lousy owner, his racist behavior behavior had no place in any sports league. That's all for this video. Let us know in the comments which one of these scandals surprised you the most. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.